Hello, Abigail here with the astrology for this week. Just a heads up, I'm low energy. I have a cold, but we're going to get through it. I do think this week is really important. There's a lot of really beautiful stuff happening, and the energy is rife with change. Now, is it a little bit of a trickier form of change because we are dealing with some Saturnian themes? We're dealing with Mars and Pluto. Yes. Um, in astrology, nothing is ever completely good or bad. There is no black and white. It is very gray. And it is also just gray based on your birth chart. Some birth charts work better with this energy, some with birth charts struggle. So keep an open mind. Know that, all of this astrology we have experienced in some way or another. And if you believe in past lives like I do, your soul has experienced similar forms of astrology before in different iterations. So take comfort in that. But let's get into it. On Monday, we start with a Saturn conjunction to the North Node. This is really important. It's our lead up to Saturn entering into Aries at the end of May. And it just really feels like this is a moment to really take a good look at the structures we're dealing with. Remember the nodes and any nodes that you use. The only planetary nodes that I use are the lunar nodes, which are pretty common. I know other astrology practices use other nodes of other planets. Um, but they are places in the sky, calculations in the sky. So they're not an actual body. So it's, to me, the North Node is a place of expansion. It's a place of North and South Node, because if you get a North Node conjunction, you get a South Node opposition. It's a place of both what you are capable of and what you are not capable of, and what energy resources you have and what energy resources you don't have. And in Pisces, it's kind of this limitless spiritual space that we're in, but also Saturn comes in and creates boundaries. So it's a bit of a shock because we're used to this kind of limitless expansion, and then Saturn's like, actually, there are limitations within the construct of your life. So this can be really helpful. It can be really good to use this as like a readjustment point. It can also be sad because you're coming up against what you can and cannot do. Um, However, you can look at it conversely as what you can do. And while maybe you're not going to be able to do a certain thing, you do have the capacity to do other things in different ways. So if you feel like you're getting a no on Monday, if you feel like you just don't have the capacity for something, it's a good time to ask yourself, do you want to have capacity for this thing? Do you want to have to expand in that direction? Or maybe there's a different way to do it. Maybe there's something out there for you that is good to expand into. Boundaries can feel like chains, but they also help us function in the parameter of our skills. So don't hate them too much. Um, it's a great check in on Monday. So if you've got some time, if you're feeling overwhelmed, really ask yourself what you want and what your goals are and what your desires are and how they match up with what your actions are currently. And then make a little bit of a plan, or at least take a little few steps this week. Then we end with Sun square Pluto. We know the sun is in Taurus. On the bright side, we are out of retrograde until I think it's the beginning of May. So we've got a couple weeks where none of the planets are retrograde, outer, inner. Nothing is shifting, heading backwards. I do believe the Pluto retrograde kicks us off, but we are in a phase where there is progression. And I am talking about a square, but trines are really beautiful and they're great for flow and movement, but they're not great for overcoming things. And so when we get a square with the sun and Pluto, this is that need to change, that need to take into our very beings the context in which we exist. Pluto is about our context. It's also about secrets. It's also about the things in the context that we don't know or understand. And the square with the sun, I think, is going to give us insights. It's also going to frustrate us because, Aquarius and Taurus are at odds in a lot of ways. Taurus tends to be fixed and not move, and Aquarius tends to be fixed and move, which seems counterintuitive, but it is that kind of dogged ability that Aquarians have to really stick to the point but move forward at the same time. Um, as a Taurus, I can say this. Sometimes Taurus humans get stuck and they don't want to move forward and they want to stick to their point, and their point is resisting progress. So both of those perspectives are beneficial. Standing your ground and holding on to what you believe in is absolutely crucial, but we also need progress in order to evolve our thoughts and patterns and our desires and beliefs. So Pluto is here to help. That friction is here to challenge us to be able to stand firm and also stay flexible within the context of something that is fixed. It's kind of like how a lot of fixed objects in the world that appear fixed actually expand and contract based on temperature, based on their environment. Um, so fixed signs are the same way. We seem as though we stay very secure or very stuck in one place, but we are constantly shifting. And it's important as a fixed sign or someone who has a lot of fixed energy to understand the difference between staying still in one place and never moving and being fixed and allowing your environment to influence you and to respond to it because you don't have a choice. Um, I do think with this Sun square Pluto, we get a lot of secrets. We get a lot of um, hidden things coming to the surface. Now, are they coming to the surface easily? No, it's going to take effort to kind of pull these unknowns out of the unknown, but we have to be brave enough to do that. So follow the difficulties this week. Then we have Venus conjunct the North Node, and this is the third time that Venus is conjunct the North Node because of the Venus retrograde. This is the kind of final reckoning with that North Node. What do you desire in relation to other people? What are your values? What values are sustainable in expansion and what values are keeping you from expanding? How can you adjust yourself to the environment and the unique people that you meet while also staying true to who you are? It's very much a lesson of this Venus retrograde. You know, who stays are the people who allow us to be ourselves even in hard times, allow us to be ourselves even in conflict. Those who go are those who can't let us be ourselves in any situation or circumstance, which is garbage, obviously. But it also does require us to come to terms with the expansion of other people and how even if you're on a journey with someone, they're also on their own journey, and that can cause you to diverge and to reconnect and diverge. And having the courage to allow that to happen and to believe that when people are truly being themselves and truly growing, that we are able to meet them in that place, even if we are not exactly what they need. Um, no one human, I think it's a very important lesson of this retrograde, no one human can meet all of our needs, and they shouldn't have to, and neither should we. And that's why we have friends and family and communities, and a lot of us, me included, um, have limited people and supports. But that doesn't mean that the few people that we have to do everything. And we have to find ways to diversify that. And it also doesn't mean that they don't have to meet our needs in the context of our relationship. It just means that we have to become uh, flexible and expansive in how we perceive people's journeys and how we exist with them in those journeys. There's a huge difference between someone coming up against their own limitations in a relationship and needing to learn how to navigate them and someone who is refusing to meet your needs. It's a lesson I've been learning this time around. So, you know, listen to your intuition, recognize that some people on this Venus retrograde journey are going in different directions. And maybe they aren't the right people for the needs that we have, but also maybe consider that some of them are just on their own really complex journey, and stay or go, we have to respect and honor that. And a part of that is deciding how far we want to go in that relationship. And that expansion of the North Node and that kind of constriction of the South Node is a point at which we get to really say, this is what I want, or this is not what I want. Also, on that same day, on Thursday, we do also have Venus conjunct Saturn, which is another one of our Venus retrograde stories. And it's really powerful and potent. And it really hauls us up short with that, what I was talking about with the conjunction with the North Node, which, because they're all so close together, there's no way to like separate them completely from each other. Venus conjunct Saturn, what are the limitations of the relationships you're in? What is their abilities to shift and move in uncertain times? What is the longevity of something? And especially with Pisces, and because I do past life work, it's also like, what is the purpose of this relationship within the context of our past lives? Is this a relationship that we need to have to simply end it? Is this a relationship that we need to cultivate to bring it to a point of fruition? Is this something that is going to continue to be nurtured and sustained through multiple lives? And none of that limits the value of the current life, but it can give us insights and help us understand better the place that our relationships have. Something that I really like for this, and I'm pretty sure I've done a video on it, is I have actually, um, is the evolutionary astrology. My mind is blanking, sorry. I'm on cold medicine. The evolutionary astrology, soul evolutions. So, like, what phase you're in, really help me put into context my relationships. If someone is multiple phases behind you or multiple phases ahead of you, it is going to be really hard to maintain a relationship long term because of how different your journeys are going to be. Now, if they're next to you in your phase, if they're the phase before, phase in the middle, phase after, and they're also broken up into smaller phases, I do think there's a pretty good chance. And that's how I kind of consider relationships, especially if I'm at a point of things aren't working. Are they not working because I'm not, because we're not figuring out our unique needs and how to discuss them, or are they not working because this person is just never going to understand or participate in my growth the way that I do theirs? And that's very unique to the phase of evolution that I'm in. So if you're curious in that, you can find that video. But also, it's something good to look into. I don't agree with everything in evolutionary astrology. I have a lot of serious questions about some things. I also see it more as a belief system rather than just an astrological technique. I have evolutionary astrology friends. I love them. But for me personally, some things are just a little religious-y for the type of stuff that I practice. And there's also some troubling ableist stuff in there too. Anyways, I enjoy it. I use it when I read past life stuff. I just don't call myself an evolutionary astrologer because of my own stuff. And also, I was once told that I was too nonconformist, which I found funny after I cried. Anyways, so now that I've rabbit trailed into my cold medicine fever dream, next we have my glasses are not on. Next we have Saturday, Mars is opposition to Pluto. This is really big because now Mars is finally into Leo. We're finally moving through the last few degrees of that Mars retrograde. We'll get there in a couple of weeks, but we are out of Cancer. And before anyone says I'm giving Cancer Mars hate, I don't. Pretty much everyone in my intimate life has a Mars Cancer. Not everyone, but like 50%. I love them. They're wonderful humans. They're deeply stabilizing for me with a Leo Mars. Um, but the regressive energy of the retrograde, the detriments, and all of those things and the length of time, it has been a lot. And we have learned our lessons very thoroughly, at least I hope so. And this opposition with Pluto is really beautiful. Um, Definitely going to be difficult for a lot of us, but it is this kind of courage to look death in the face and to move forward and to look the kind of expansive wildness of an Aquarius Pluto in the face and to sit in that singularity of a Leo Mars and to say, I am important in this moment in time. I am valuable in the collective. And the very little that I can do is massively impactful and very valuable. I've heard so many people recently, and it really makes me upset. And to be honest, the people I hear say this are very privileged. They generally have money and they're often white and they're usually straight. And they're like, well, what can I do? I can't change anything. So you're just going to what? Not engage? Let people who are disabled, people of color, everyone else just down the toilet because you doing something doesn't feel valuable enough to you in the moment? You can tell, like, it makes me mad. But this Mars opposition to Pluto is a moment for those of us who do not want to ride on that kind of privilege or who can't ride on that kind of privilege. I am white, but I'm also queer and disabled, and while it doesn't rule out the white privilege that I have, it doesn't mean that, I may not be first in line, but we're definitely in there. Which doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter where you are in line. You should have empathy. And I absolutely have white privilege. I also have passing privilege. I get misgendered all the time. Also, a lot of people don't see me as queer because I'm apparently not visibly queer, um, whatever that means. So I know that I have a huge level of visible privilege They don't get to see me having meltdowns in my room in chronic pain. um, but my point isn't that. My point is it doesn't matter where you are. Mars opposing Pluto is a generational moment of reckoning and of saying no, regardless of my singular place in the tapestry of history. I will do my part. I will be the thread that I was born to be. And I will create the story that I want to create, not the story that people with money and power and privilege want to create. And I will not be one of their threads that makes the story that they want to tell so that they can absolve themselves from guilt while they commit atrocities. So, yes, this Mars opposing Pluto is this individual powerhouse that I think we all have, even though we're all exhausted. um, and its context within kind of the vast limitlessness of Pluto and Aquarius, and how like it's like the Mars and Leo is like a grain of sand on a beach, but if you take a massive amount of sand and dump it on something, it crushes everything. Um, and that is what I strive to be, a grain of sand that does its job as a grain of sand and completes its purpose, regardless of the end, whether I get melted down into glass or disappear into the annals of time with my name nowhere. I want to have done my part, and that is the message of this Mars opposing Pluto. We might seem like one small thing, but it only takes one small thing to light the world on fire in a positive way, not in an ecological disaster way. And then on, which is really nice because the day following after we have this really powerful stuff and we're still in this really intense Mars Pluto energy, we get this new moon in Taurus, this exalted moon. And now, yes, is it square that Mars? Absolutely. Is it also square Pluto? Yes. Do we have a T square? Absolutely. But I do think it is a moon of hope. Also, Taurus, when pressed, is a survival placement. Any placements you have in Taurus are survival placements. All of my Taurian placements, well, all of them. I have a couple, but some of them are lots. And asteroids are survival placements. They are also beautiful placements of growth and abundance and wealth. And I'm not talking wealth as in money, because that would not be, I would have a different story if that was true. I'm not talking wealth as in money, but wealth as in resource. Those things live in Taurus. And so I do think this is a moment of kind of recognizing the beauty and wealth that we have. I will, of course, do another video on that. So we have more of that, more in-depth talk about the Taurus new moon, kind of how I think it's going to affect us and what we can do within it. Pardon me. So yeah, that is this week. It is action-packed. It has a lot of kind of reckoning moments. I think this week really feels like a lot of moments of having to really affirm our values, stand our ground, connect with people and places and things that we believe in. It's not going to be easy, but it is going to be really enriching and valuable long term. Before I go, a reminder that I'll be doing the Taroscopes. The Taroscopes are my videos that I try to keep around 10 minutes that cover each sign for each season. Watch your sun, moon, and rising. If you have a stellium, watch that too. Those will be dropping as Taurus season begins, which this video will be out after Taurus season begins, so they will already be on their way. Anyways, my loves, I will see you all in a different place and time. I wish you many blessings this week. Also, in times like these, make sure you nap. The universe is doing a lot of things. Even outside of the retrogrades, it does feel like we're still in a very retrograde-y place. We're still in the post-shadow periods of all of those retrogrades. So, take downtime when you need it. When it's go time, you'll know. I don't know that it's this week, though. And like I said, it depends on your birth chart. Anyways, toodles, and hopefully next time I see you, I will be less hazy from medication. Love you all.